Boom! Welcome back, everybody. Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. We are your Omniverse Comics Guide guys. Eric, that's him. My boy Dave.
You're Dave.
How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, great.
How you doing,
thanks,
my
dude.
friend?
Are you all right? You're looking gorgeous tonight, darling. I have to say, look at you there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's been a long day, but you know what? Not having done this for a week, it makes you miss it.
It does.
And sometimes you need that little break to say, you know what? I gotta do that thing that I really enjoy doing, and we gotta hang out with the boys again, right?
Yeah.
And gals, whoever's here. But that sort of feeling, you need that night out.
That's just it. It's funny because I was thinking about this just now. I was kind of thinking I've missed this, but I used to kind of miss it if we took a week off when we were doing Just Cave of Solitude, but it was just you and me. Mm-hmm. And now it's like there's a nice group of people joining in. There's also Omega Bread, but there's mostly a nice group of people.
Hey.
He's here tonight.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah.
His wallet is trembling like Gwen Stacy after a one-night stand with Norman. He says.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, it's for those that are tuning in through Twitch, through YouTube after we put it on our channel, and any podcast platform, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Be sure to share the show. If you like some of our episodes or some of our interviews, be sure to share it. It always helps get the word out. And we like making better stuff for everybody. And of course, don't forget to visit omniversecomics.guide for all of our reviews, reading orders, videos, podcasts, interviews, so much stuff there. And thank you to everybody who contributes to that. And this is our tradition, our monthly incoming.
It
One
is.
of Dave's favorites.
I love coming monthly.
Don't we all? Well,
that's married life, mate.
There's been a couple months prior where we're like, man, when's that coming out? And it seems that October, November, December, everything's been piled on into those months. So
yeah,
even if you thought you didn't, there wasn't something good to get, there's gonna be some good stuff in November. This is a good month.
Yeah, even if you're catching up and it's like you're waiting for that elusive volume 2 or that elusive volume 5 in one case, I'm particularly excited about.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, there are a lot of those.
Yes.
But we're going to focus on the newbies, aren't we? We're going to focus on the new stuff for the most part.
Well, we try to, but if you've been listening to the show for a while and tuning into these incomings, we've recommended, like you were mentioning before, just before we went into the live of the podcast, we were saying we've recommended volume 1 and talked about the ones that were subsequent. So it's only natural that we'd be buying ourselves. Like, this is what I'm really excited that's incoming on my pull list, right? It all sounds very dirty.
It does. Either way you say it.
Yeah. Anyways, get your mind out of the gutter, Eric. It's going to be a good month for reading comic books and trying things that are being reprinted that have been hard to find, and some of those evergreens that if you didn't get that the first time, definitely go for it now.
Yeah.
So, I'll shut up. Dave, you take it away.
Right. So, I wasn't ready somehow. Okay, here we go. Do you know what? It's weird because it's funny when we talk about stuff that we have mentioned in other forms through this. I'm going to try not to repeat too much, but this is one that we have mentioned in a previous episode. I think it was the DC Omnibus episode a little while back. Most Wanted DC Omnis.
Okay.
It's not come out in Omni format, but it is coming out in a nice chunky format. It's the Superman Warworld saga. It's worth noting that while it says the Warworld saga and it's a chunky volume, you don't necessarily get everything in that volume. It's a great book. Like, it's a really, really chunky looking book. Oh, who did the cover? I can't see the credits. I think it's Riccardo Federici did the cover. Who I think...
Yeah, it looks like the same cover style of Last Gods.
That's exactly it, yeah. So he was the illustrator on Last Gods, which is another beautiful book that I still need to get hold of. But this one, it's 712 pages, so it's a nice, big, beefy paperback book. But it doesn't collect the prequel story, The Golden Age, which is the one where Superman actually gets injured. Unless what's been announced as the content is expanded when the book itself comes out. But it appears those 2 issues are missing, and then the follow-up story, Return of Kal-El, isn't in this book. Yeah, the Batman Superman Authority special is in there, but not Superman Authority 4-issue mini. So that's also missing from the book, according to the solicits. So it's worth picking up those other 3 books and getting this one as well to get the full. Yeah. So I mean, if you're not sure about what the reading order,
they should have just made it an omnibus.
Yeah, completely. They don't seem to be very keen on doing Superman omnibus editions at the moment.
Yeah, we've spoken about that before and had our own little conspiracies as to why none of them were. Like, you just don't get it.
No,
I don't know if it's a difficult thing to collect.
There can be no real reason why they can't.
This would have been something. I don't know what this was selling. I know that it was very well received critically, and I'm looking forward to reading it because I haven't read much Superman post Brian Michael Bendis, pretty much. And I went halfway into his stuff, halfway into his Superman stuff on both action and Superman. So, and I enjoyed what I've read so far.
Still making it sound dirty.
And I kind of want to keep it that way. Sorry. What was I saying? Now my mind.
You only went halfway deep into Bendis, and then you haven't touched the Big Blue since.
Right. Yeah. Halfway deep was good enough.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is.
But yeah, and I have no idea what's happening in the Superman world. And I usually would, because that's kind of a character. One of those characters, like a Spider-Man, you kind of become married to. You just want to know what's going on. Is it any good? Because, I have a soft spot for the character. And seeing this come out in a compendium, I'm so happy you listed it, because you've read it, right?
Yeah, I've read the whole thing. So there's a reading order on the omniversecomics.guide website, and that includes the Golden... It breaks them down to the Golden Age, Return of Kal-El, and in the middle, the Warworld saga. So it is 3 chunks to the story. There's the prequel, the main story, and then there's like the epilogue story with the return to Earth.
Right.
So that's not really a spoiler. We know he comes back. It's lengthy, but there are some nice little tie-in bits. And interestingly, what they have included in this is the future state issues, which are they're almost like a little hint of how things may be in the future. And in that, it seems that things play out a little differently. So that is a future in which the events of Warworld go quite a different way. But then when you get to Warworld itself, it doesn't go that way. So it's a strange inclusion, but there's no harm in them being there. And it kind of builds you up to something going like, is this what's going to happen?
Right. It gives you that, what's the appetite, as they say. What interests me about this one is that it's being given that collected treatment because of the critical acclaim. Like, read this whole thing. Just give this whole thing a try. And when a publisher kind of does that, it makes you, for me anyway, it makes you go, they have some faith in this.
Yeah.
They want to see how this, they feel that if people read this in a completed format, they'll see why it's really good, regardless of what it's sold week to week or month to month.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's like when you see an omnibus as something you're not expecting, you're kind of going, oh, well, there must be a reason. There must be some worth. They must have some faith. And it does change how you perceive it. So, yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. But yeah, that's my
I'm looking forward to
first choice. It's called Superman, the Warworld Saga. 712 pages, a lot of issues. It's a really good storyline. Like, it's a really fun story. Stop telling me everything fun, Dave. It's a really fun storyline, man. I love it.
Good pick. So I'm going to go with an omnibus. It's Hawkeye from Matt Fraction, David Aja, and it's brilliant. I loved it. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was one of the most experimental comics I've ever read, numerous times over, in multiple different ways.
It's so good. It's just one of those things that, regardless of whether it's the superhero version of Hawkeye, like some people might like Thunderbolts era Hawkeye, or, West Coast Avengers, things like that, right? And this one is a very different take. But the point is, it's different, it's fresh, and whether you've read any of those other Hawkeye stories with him in the Avengers over, the 50 years prior, you don't need to.
No.
All you have to do is go in and just give this a shot, and you'll know what you need to know as you read it, and it's just a great book. Whether you're a Matt Fraction fan or not, whether you're a Hawkeye, Marvel comic book fan, this is just a great, fun read. Like Pizza Dog. You just got to check out Pizza Dog.
Yeah, and it's
so good.
It's the two Hawkeyes as well. So I mean, the way they bounce off each other or don't, which makes it. But there are little hints to history as well, because they're references and appearance by his. It's not really a spoiler, but his brother, who's such a little known character, because he goes way back to like 1968, 69 ish. He's sporadically appeared over the decades, like a few times. There are references to the past, but it's not reliant on the past. And if you don't know your Hawkeye history, you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter. It's one of the most fun comics you can read, because you're not beholden to anything, and it's complete. It feels complete.
It is definitely a book worth owning, without a doubt.
If you can get it for a good deal,
it's a great read.
Omnis are getting very pricey at the minute.
Some things are questionably priced, and you just wonder, like, why would they have it listed at that price when that's almost the size of an Epic collection? I know it's in hardcover and a little bit big, but come on now. And if an Epic collection is $50, the equivalent of that page count in an Omni should be $75, $85. Not $100, not $100 more, $175 more.
Yeah,
it's a bit steep, but there will be a place where you can pick this up at a discounted price, and you should.
So it's 22 issues plus an annual, and then Young Avengers number 6. So it's not like the 50, 60 comic type omnibus, but as soon as it came out, I had to own it. And it's funny because you think of Matt Fraction, you know, some people you go like, some people don't like Bendis because of the way he writes, that funny, quirky dialogue, or you don't like Rucker because he always writes every scene starts mid-sentence and it's annoying. I used to not like Greg Rucker for that reason, which is stupid, really. But it doesn't bother me.
Never realized that. That's hilarious.
I can't not see it. But like with Fraction, he doesn't really have. You don't go, that's like a real Matt Fraction thing to do. He's quite versatile. You don't necessarily go, oh, that's a him kind of book. But this is like a really creative comic. So
it really is.
If you haven't liked some of Matt Fraction's other stuff, give this a try, because it's great.
Exactly.
And it's funny because even though some people might be weird about not seeing Hawkeye in his regular costume, after a while it doesn't matter. If you're an old school fan,
right,
it doesn't matter. Just have fun.
Yes. Old school, new school. Go with this.
Okay.
It's a good one.
My list is very non-oversized hardcover this month. I know we probably choose quite a lot of Omnis each month, but like I have none. I didn't realise until like right at the last minute going, oh, I've got nothing. So, but there is quite a mix in here. But I am going to have something with Omnibus in the name. So this is Innocent Omnibus from Dark Horse. It's a manga. It's about the French Revolution, and I think there are due to be 3 volumes of this, and it's one of the most beautiful manga I've ever seen. Now, there is a special episode coming up that's manga-centric, so I don't want to go into this massively now when we're going to talk about it in greater detail, and it will feature some recommendations from one of our viewers. He's read Innocent, so we've got a feature coming up where he's read Innocent and 2 more books. We won't go into it right now as to what they are, and yeah, he's going to go into detail on Innocent, but look at the cover. Just look at the cover of Innocent Omnibus Volume 1, and I defy you not to think it's one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen. It's 632 pages, so it's a beefy one. It's typical of Dark Horse manga Omnis. They're quite chunky. Pretty. It's really pretty, isn't it? It's just, but the art is like that in the interiors. It's black and white, but it's as with most manga. But
it looks like that the whole way through.
Like that, but not in color. Yeah.
I haven't read any manga.
No.
To be quite honest, and I'm scared. I'm scared too, not because I'm scared of it. It's more I'm gonna fall in love with something else. And like I say all the time, I won't have the space. I'm so tempted because there's people are like, you haven't read that or you haven't watched that anime, and
it's a whole nother world,
I'll be a binge junkie.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
It's a whole nother world.
That's what I mean.
And I haven't read that many even now, but as soon as I started doing it, I had some really good advice, and it was Aldo on Instagram. He basically wrote me this lengthy email where he said, you have to look this up, man. This is the manga stuff you need to read. I was kind of like, dude, this is amazing. Why isn't he coming? Aldo Gosling. But yeah, he sent me a massive list of like, this is if you're into this, there's this. If you're into that, there's that. And it's like, this is a massive world. And I just started buying tons of books because they're so much more affordable. John Allison, who wrote Giant Days, he said like, it's ridiculous how manga sells. Like all the effort we put into color in Western comics and making them a certain size and everything. And it's like, they're these little books. and there's 4 panels a page, and it's black and white, and everyone loves it, and it outsells American comics. It's crazy. Now, why are we putting so much effort in?
All right. I'm going to recommend something that I've read myself, so it's not necessarily something I'm going to buy because I already own it, but it is it's from one of those writers that's almost worth checking out his whole bibliography. Ex Machina from Brian K. Vaughan and Tony Harris. Have you read this before?
I picked up the first print of it, and I still haven't read it, and that was a few years ago. So, have you read it?
I have read it. I remember when the compendiums were announced and they were coming out, I said, oh, okay, this might be an interesting way to read this in 2-volume chunks. And then I remember also seeing the omnibus at my favorite bookstore in Toronto. Shout out to B&V Bookshops. They had the Omni there for a really good discounted price. And I said, is it too big of a book? Is it going to be too hefty and uncomfortable to read? Is it better? You know, that stupid way of collecting in your head. What's cheaper? All that kind of stuff.
It's logical.
Well, yeah, thank you. That's why we're pals. But it's a really fun story. I actually gave up. I have them in other formats, but I wanted to keep this book over my Why the Last Man.
Really?
Some people will be like, that's sacrilege. Why? Yeah, because I feel there's a uniqueness to the artwork and the world that they live in. Because it's got...
I'm stuck in my hoodie.
Would you like to take off your hoodie, Dave? I'm trying to keep a straight face and you're there like a Muppet.
Oh shit, something fell over.
Oh no. There you go. There's our hero.
Hi.
It's unfortunately it's too big for me to try to open up and to show people artwork from here.
It's a big book.
But Tony Harris, he's the artist that was on Starman, right?
For a good chunk of Starman, but I think his style has changed by the time he gets onto this. It's changed a bit.
It's a very smart book in that it's taking this guy who was a once upon vigilante / superhero and becomes a kind of like a libertarian mayor. It's just complex on different levels because it's a little bit of a political commentary as well as a suspense thriller, and there's sci-fi all tied into it. Yeah, it keeps me wanting to, like, and then what? I don't know how to speak about it without giving it away, and to be quite honest, I don't remember all the details, which makes me excited to read it again.
Yeah.
I think it's a unique Brian K. Vaughan story. It kind of stands out as that one that's different, if that makes sense. They're all different.
They're all quite different, are they? Yeah. How many pages is this thing? I'm going to look it up while you're talking. Sorry, you carry on.
It's like 1,500. I think it's all 60 issues. It's a complete story, though. That's the good thing about it. Again, one of those hefty reads, but a pretty compelling one. Like, this was a television show. You'd be tuning into the episodes. It's not just about action, but there's enough of it in it that keeps you like, oh, what's really going on? The suspense of it is really good.
Okay, my number 3 tonight. It is the Complete Claws / Klaus Deluxe Edition. It's by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora, and if people hear any one of those names, they should prick up. How can it not look good?
Yeah, I keep hearing this guy's name. Yeah, this guy's name is everywhere right now as like the dude. And I don't know. I know I've read some things from him, but I don't know
Once a Future,
how much.
The Mark Waid
Batman,
Superman, Batman, whichever way around it is, the current series. It's a deluxe oversized hardcover. It's 496 pages. It's from Boom, and I find it a bit weird with distribution with Boom in the UK. They tend to arrive here really late or sometimes not turn up. But it collects Claws / Klaus numbers 1 to 7, Claws and the Witch of Winter, Claws and the Crisis of Xmasville, The Crying Snowman, Life and Times of Joe Christmas. But it might sound kind of cheesy, but it looks like it's not necessarily gritty, but it's Claws himself is quite a muscular, very attractive bearded man. He doesn't look like a jolly fat man in a red suit. He looks more like the Eternal Warrior. You're right. So it's a very different. It's almost like a sexy dude with a beard. I don't know if they'll release more. In theory, this is a sign that they won't, but you never quite know. But it's just such, like, Dan Mora, his art is some of the most pleasing art that you'll see on any title. As soon as he does the cover or he He does the interiors, especially if he does interiors, because he can do that. A lot of cover artists now, like they're cover artists and other artists do interiors, but he's doing it all. And it all looks incredible. So he's clearly some form of bastard. I don't know how he's doing it, because like the amount of work he's putting in is insane at the minute.
Yeah, it just seems like his name keeps popping up everywhere. And it's always the reason to pick that book up because, hey, Dan Mora's on it. Just the visuals itself is going to be worth the price of admission.
Exactly.
Very nice. Good pick.
So, okay, I can't remember what we covered last time because it's been 2 weeks. And even if it had been 1 week, I still wouldn't remember. So, there is a Kickstarter spotlight on the website. It's all about just some of the best Kickstarter stuff that we found. Actually, Misha's put a lot of work in. She's done a lot of the research, and then I basically just do approvals. that one, too much porn. That's basically the method. And I'm no prude, as well you know, but some of them, there's a lot of Kickstarter stuff out there where you're going, is there a story in this? But like, yeah, we tried to kind of hone it down to the stuff where it feels like there's at least a story to tell. There's some really nice stuff in there. Let's go have a look. We've also added the Iron Man storyline from 1989, Heartbeaten, which is quite an overlooked story. It was towards the end of the David Michelinie, Bob Layton run. The top 10 John Byrne stories episode, which we did a couple of weeks ago, is on. It is a little shorter due to some technical stuffs. But if you sign up to the Omniverse Comics Guide website and support us and what we do, you will get to see the whole thing again, unedited. Omniverse Book Club episode is also on, so that's Eric and special guest Adam Chapman. So you'll get their take on whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, so go check it out. In the build up to Halloween, we've got a little bit of a here and there. We're going to do some kind of spooky, horror-y stuff, and so one of them is Dead Days storyline, which is Marvel Zombies, basically the origin of Marvel Zombies. It's the moment when they become zombies, but also there's a tie into Dynamite Comics' Evil Dead series, so Ash from Evil Dead appears in it. There's an Assassin's Creed special feature which is available to all. It's a focus on all the Assassin's Creed comics, so it's not really a reading order, but it lets you know what's out there, and Misha's tried to put it in as best a chronological order as she can. Brand new collector's item special with special guests Piper and Rob Williams, who are just releasing the single issue version of the new series Petrolhead. That's the most fun you can have in the backseat of a car with just your socks on. Finally, there's the Werewolf by Night reading order, which is the entire comics history of Werewolf by Night from the first appearance to present day, all in chronological order. If you like the Disney Plus Werewolf by Night one-off episode and you want to find out what to read, jump onto there. It's not just a list, it highlights all the stuff that's key, the parts of his history that you really should read, and some of the bits you can skip.
I would be remiss not to list this. One of our first guests on the Omniverse Comics Guide when we launched the podcast was the writer of this book. It's an Image Comics book. Collected, it's going to be complete. Dead Romans from Fred Kennedy, who was on one of our early episodes in the Omniverse, came on and he spoke about his love for Roman history. So he's a bit of an aficionado in the field of this era of Roman history, and he built this sort of fictional story around some factual stuff. It's just a beautiful book. I was able to read the first issue of it. I haven't read all of it because I wanted to read it complete. Have you? You've been...
No, I'm just desperately... I'm genuinely really hyped for this book. Again, it's one of those things where you go like, but you've had them on as a guest. You're going to go like, oh, they were really good. I'm really hyped for this book because I seem to like this historical spin stuff at the moment. So...
No, absolutely. It's very grounded. It's, you know, that sort of... You feel the story in the texture of the art, and it's Nick Marinkovich.
That's right.
Who's the artist on it. So this book is something I think that is worth having because, again, you can have a complete story, which is always very new reader friendly. You don't have to be stuck in the middle of some long ongoing thing to know about everything. But of course, there's reading lists for it at the Omniverse Comics Guide.
Hey.
But in this case, again, it's going to be a very nice book to own.
I mean, there's been a lot of praise for this series.
I've known Fred Kennedy for quite a long time as a radio. He's a radio host in Toronto on our rock stations. And I've seen him at cons for many years. So it's really cool to see the transition now of him getting a book and also being praised for it. Not just by us, but just like the community of comic book fans saying this is a solid book. And it's like, it's nice to see, people you've seen come up start to win. So
yeah, no, definitely.
I'm excited for this. And like you said, the hardcover treatment lets you know that this isn't just like here's the trade if you want to read all 6 issues. you're getting a nicely made book, which is great.
If you do want to hear about this, like Eric says, the episode is available on it's on YouTube, it's on the podcast. So yeah, go and listen to the episode or watch the episode. But he talks about how difficult it was as well to get it made, because it's one of those things it's not what you expect in comics, like a historical piece. What the hell? So where are the powers? When's the bit where they introduce the psychic a bit, or the aliens, or the whatever? No.
Yeah.
And that's what appeals to me about
it. Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, my fourth for the night, another one I haven't read. As I said earlier, I'm choosing a lot of stuff I haven't read before. So this is the Green Lantern Kyle Rayner Rising Compendium. This is 90s comics, man. And I know, again, we talk about how there's a lot of negativity towards 90s comics. So we're getting a nice chunky compendium again from DC. There's been a lot of requests to have the Kyle stuff reprinted. And this actually also includes the storyline where Hal goes a little bit cray-cray and he nicks off, and then Kyle takes over. So it's... What's that one? Was that Emerald Dawn? Twilight.
Emerald Twilight.
And then Emerald Dawn's later.
I think it's Twilight. Is it... It doesn't say Volume 1. It just says compendium.
No, but I just think that's a smart move. So if they don't... Rather than say Green Lantern Kyle Rayner Volume 1, they go on Green Lantern Kyle Rayner Rising. So then you don't need to worry about, like, oh, I just want the later chunk. I just want this bit. So they can keep releasing them, and people don't go, I want Volume 1, I want the Volume 2 stuff, but I don't want the Volume 1 stuff, because that's part of the problem with some of these things, you know?
True. That's an interesting take. I didn't think of that.
The Milestone one was the one I really wanted. The Milestone Volume 2 was the compendium of that series I really wanted because of the Superman stuff, because I don't know the Milestone stuff very well.
Right.
But there's no reason. I thought, like, you know what? I'll get the Volume 1 as well, because I might really like it. So that's great. But otherwise, I probably would have just got the Volume 2 if it had a subtitle to it, or like the event title as a subtitle.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? So that sometimes I don't think it's worth them numbering things. Just give it a subtitle.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And especially with collectors, like for me, I'm looking at it like, are they not committed? Are they stopping here? Because I know that there's more.
Be that
or
as well.
Right? Essentially, this is the first two big trades that they put out a few years ago for Kyle Rayner.
Yeah.
This is a nice compendium. It's about,
I think,
right, with a little extra.
With a bit, with a bit extra. So it's Green Lantern 1990 series number 0, 4865, Rebels 94 number 1, New Titans 116 to 117, 124 to 125, Guy Gardner Warrior 27 to 28, Dark Stars 34, and Damage number 16. So the thing is, it's got a lot of crossover bits in it. But hey, do you know what? It was the 90s. Everything was crossing over all the time. And they're relatively short crossovers normally. They're normally like 2-3 parters. 4 tops. People love this Kyle Rayner stuff. There's a big fan base for Kyle and his time as Green Lantern. Obviously, people were super hyped when Hal came back. And part of that was because it signified the start of the Jeff Johns run. But people love Kyle Rayner. And there's a reason why that book didn't just get cancelled. It carried on. He was a member of the JLA during the Grant Morrison run, and he didn't disappear. His book only stopped because they were doing Green Lantern Rebirth. So there's a fan base there, and if people are sticking with it, there's got to be some reason for it.
Yeah, I would hope so, because I've heard people kind of not whisper, but they put Kyle Rayner in the same breath as they would Wally West. Like, you know, we kind of grew to love this guy.
Yeah.
And you're making it seem like, yeah, you included him and he became Ion and different things. Like, he didn't just go the wayside, but he became our Green Lantern. Like, he earned it to a point where we're with him now. He's our guy. And then we just dismiss him. So I've always heard people say, you know, I wish they would collect the Kyle Rayner stuff. I'd like to be able to read that. And it's unfortunate that it kind of gets overlooked for it being 90s comics or for him being, you know, the legacy character. I got a soft spot for that character as well. So I hope that there will be a way to be able to collect this in some more of a complete format where you get past what they've already put out there.
But it needs to sell. So people say that, I wish they do that. I wish they do it. Buy the book. That's how Volume 2 or whatever they call it will happen, is if it sells.
Yeah, people look back at 90s comics and they compare it to how we, what we have standards for today. And it's like, this is the era of Jerry Springer and Married with, I mean, you probably didn't get that in the UK.
No,
but
we did, yeah.
There's so many things of that. Yeah, like it was just a time of trash TV and very, not exploitive, but like Baywatch era. It was, it was.
We used to call it wristwatch.
Wristwatch?
Yeah.
Baywatch?
Yeah.
Why?
Wristwatch.
Because what was the reason? Okay. Anyways, Kyle Rayner in the 90s. I'm willing to give it a shot.
I recommend other people give it a shot. If you
ways.
really want these 90s books to come out again, like where there is that negativity towards that era, I think there's reluctance to reprint books from that time. There's a lot of great stuff from that time. If you want to see it in print in this, if you want to see it in print, that stuff that you loved back then on your shelf, buy the books. Like,
let's give Kyle a shot.
Yeah, give Kyle a chance. All we are saying. Can we get sued for ruining a terrible song?
If we do, it means they're listening, which is good. All right, number 4 for me. My number 4.
Do it.
I'm gonna go with another one that I've read, and I can highly recommend without a doubt. This is during the Marvel Now era. Another reprint omnibus that if you hadn't gotten a shot to read it before, definitely give it a go this time. This comes out, did I write the date? November 7th. We did a recent spotlight on this creator, Mark Waid's Daredevil. And it would, I'd be remiss not to shout out all of the wonderful artists that he worked with. Paulo Rivera, Marcos Martin, Cano, as well as famously Chris Samnee jumps on this book sometime down the road.
Is it Cano?
It's a great...
I've been doing it wrong.
I could be wrong myself.
Who knows?
How do you say it?
We'll ask him. I was going Kano. Dude, I'm no expert. As well you know.
But that's your specialty.
Yeah.
But this is a great era for Daredevil. Again, if you're a fan of Daredevil or just a fan of good swashbuckling sort of comics with that little bit of dark noir to it, this is great stuff. And when it comes to Daredevil, we often think of him being in that, would the word be like macabre, like very dark, wet alleyway, New York Hell's Kitchen, like you see in the television show, right? It's very seedy.
So did you say wet alleyway?
A wet alleyway, yeah, I said that. That's right.
That sounds so wrong. Come round immediately. I have a wet alleyway. Like, oh, okay.
Anyways, Mark Waid springs a little fun back into Daredevil's world where it isn't quite as sad all the time. It's still, he's got a bit of that bad luck, but there's a little bit of sunshine in the world, and he's having a little bit more fun being Daredevil, right? There's a little more adventure to it. And if you haven't read Daredevil before, you don't need to be intimidated by, like, do I have to know everything about Frank Miller and Brian Michael Bendis? No, you don't. And it'll be a ton of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the most fun. At first, I found it really jarring because I was so used to reading Daredevil in this really dark, miserable kind of vibe for about 20 years.
Yeah.
With a little Joe Kelly gap in the middle. Joe Kelly's run was quite fun. But it was...
Never read it.
It's nice. It's nice stuff.
Daredevil has a good... What's the word? Like when you go back to his library of comics, there's a lot of good stuff there in different eras. Yeah. But this one kind of stands out after having been so long in a certain type of vibe, where what made it special was that it was like, you know what, he's always in the shadow, I'm gonna shine a little bit of light into the scene, and that's okay too. Daredevil could do that as well.
It made a massive difference to the vibe of that book, and it still works. And it harked back as well to, like, even way back to the first run-in with Doctor Doom. But you don't need to know that. But if you do, it's a bonus. And if you don't, then it's like, this is great. Like, it's so good. His Daredevil works because he finds that glee in what being Daredevil must be like when he's hit a point where he's gone through so much crap, and it's been dark for years. All the Marvel Knights era, loved it. But oh my God, is it dark. And then you get to this, and it's just like, do you know what? He runs around on rooftops, jumps about, and knocks people out, and then he faces people like the Spot in this. The Spot is so warped in these early issues of this story, of this series. It's freaky, but they're still upbeat comics. It's like Matt is just going, actually, do you know what? I tried to stop being Daredevil and I can't because I love it. So, and he just remembers why he loved doing it in the first place, and that's what's beautiful about this series, I think.
This Daredevil stuff was a lot of fun. I think it's a safe pick, and it would be a 2-volume purchase to have the complete run of it, but it's great stuff. Very nice. Dave,
thank you for
take it away with your number 5.
All right, number 5. Number 5, dude. Oh, man. I'm going to go with something I know nothing about. I like chucking something in that I've got. No, I don't know. Oh, my God, this is really hard. All right, mate. I'm going to go with... I'm torn between 2, but I'll mention the other later on. Aquaman Andromeda is by Ron V and Christian Ward. And I'm a big fan of Christian Ward. I bumped into Christian Ward at MCM, and I just thought he was great. Like, this stuff is intimidatingly gorgeous. Like, look at it. His style is so different because it's kind of painted as well, isn't it? I don't know what he actually uses, but it looks painted, and I love it.
It's definitely a journey.
Yeah,
it's in that realm of not the same, but. It's like when I'm looking at the interiors of Mike Mundo. It's very Fantasyland, whimsical.
Yeah, it's
this,
kind
like,
of,
you follow the brush, like you do. It's like what you're very immersed in this. There's a tone to the world. You don't know necessarily. It's very shadowy, but there's a bright color somewhere involved. It's very psychedelic.
Yeah, that's it. Psychedelic. It's almost, it borders on surreal, but definitely psychedelic. But without being knobby and pretentious about it. He's really hit one hell of a stride lately, and there's some fantastic stuff coming out from him because he's also just released Batman: City of Madness, which is a Black Label book, which I think is going to be a 3-issue series, but it's almost like a spiritual follow-on from Batman Arkham Asylum, the Grant Morrison thing, but with almost like a Cthulhu mythos element thrown in. And this is what he seems to like doing. With Aquaman Andromeda, this is the underwater kingdom of Aquaman, but through the eyes of Christian Ward, and I think that's a perfect mix. And that's why, like, this was a really hard thing for me, because I was going to, like, not mention it, but I can't. I just want to see how it looks, regardless of the fact that it's Ram V writing, who I think, there are people who are fans of him, there are people who aren't, but I don't really care. I just want to see how this damn book looks, because it's going to be a just absolutely stunning book to look at. And that's not enough. Yeah. There needs to be a story, and there clearly will be, but I want this book. I want to just look at every page and absorb it.
Yeah. Invisible Kingdom Library Edition from Dark Horse Comics.
Did you read it?
Christian Ward, G. Willow Wilson. Not yet. I was able to find a copy of it. I know it was on one of our previous incomings.
Yes.
But again, the way you described it, that sort of surreal, psychedelic. There's a minimalist aspect to it, but not really.
Yeah.
It seems very. It doesn't seem like he's doing too much, but there's so much. His Black Bolt run as well with, I think, Salamed Ahmed is one of the few things from, like, modern Marvel in the last couple years. I know it's a couple years old that I did purchase it and enjoy. And again, it's a lot to do with his work in it, because it's not just about a comic panel. No. This is this might be overdoing it, but it's that same thing when you do a J.H. Williams book. When you read it, it's like, this is an experience because of this artist. He's making it an experience through his vision, right?
Yeah.
That's what Christian Ward kind of does. So, nice pick.
It's a good comparison.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too much, like, really, but...
No, but that's the thing. I think the weird thing with it as well is, like, with Christian Ward, is it's not pretentious. It's just, it feels right. I mean, the book itself is 176 pages. It's oversized, but kind of old school graphic novel dimensions. So it's that kind of wider book. It's Black Label. It's the same format we're starting to get used to, I think. But regardless, it's a fine looking thing, but it looks quite menacing as well. And that's part of the draw for me. So I want to see what they do with this character. And to me, visually, Christian Ward is an excellent choice for this book.
That's a great, when you see he's doing Atlantis, yes.
Imagine.
Yes.
Just I can't imagine it. I want to see it.
Yeah. Good pick. That's a nice one.
Cool.
Okay, what were you debating on? What was the other one?
My other one is All Eight Eyes, which is it's almost like an Eight-Legged Freaks post 9/11 book. I'm not a big horror person, but sometimes something catches my eye. No pun intended. I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, but it's one of those things that just caught my attention. So we'll see. I'll probably drop a review for it when it comes out.
Nice. All right. Very nice. Good list. You know what? I'm looking at my list, and I'm happy to see that I had things on my list you mentioned. So I feel like so many of our picks were, I wasn't sure whose pick it was at some points because we were both really excited about the same one. So it's like, okay, now I can. So many things have been covered. That's good. I'm gonna go my number 5. This is, I guess, a prequel book. It's coming out from IDW, November 7th.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed the not the first story, but it's the first story, and it's the Last Ronin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Last Ronin. This is the Lost Years. And so what's good about it is if you want to start fresh, you can kind of just read this for the first time and then maybe read Last Ronin. I would recommend reading Last Ronin first. Yeah. I don't know if you've read it at all, Dave.
I haven't, but I'm a big believer in not necessarily following chronology. It's not about the chronology, it's about the right order to read something in. And this reveals what happened in between. That's all I know, but that's the way to do it. So this is technically volume 2, but it's set before volume 1. Right. And so I would highly recommend reading The Last Ronin just as its standalone book because there's a mystery to it. And I think if you were to read this one first, it might spoil the mystery. However, it fills in blanks, right? So however you choose to approach reading things or watching television shows, right? There's a lot of prequels to shows that fill in information. But yeah, I was really impressed with this original series, The Last Ronin. And they have some moments where, like many good stories, they have flashback scenes. And sometimes the flashback scenes, you want a little bit more of those moments because it's like, man, that was interesting. It's informative and it gives me what I need to know to continue my story. But now they're going to give you a little bit more of that world. Yeah. Which is exciting. I'm really happy to see the success of the first series. Trying to think of what we could compare it to that are kind of classic books that people swear by. I'm not sure anything comes to mind, but regardless, comics? This is kind of like, it's like reading Batman Year One or Long Halloween, and it doesn't matter which order you read them in. Yeah. They inform each other, and it's nice to have those kind of stories of beloved characters that you can let them exist in on their own, right? Yeah. You don't have to be married to a whole series, but it's great starting points to make you say, let me read all of this stuff that these guys are making. Because a lot of it is a similar creative team to what the IDW main series was, which is nice. Oh, right. That's cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat. So give it a go. I'm definitely going to be one of these things I'm going to add to my shelf just because I like the first edition. So yeah, I find myself liking a lot of Ninja Turtles comics or even some of the animated movies that they come out with, like the Batman Ninja Turtle series. It was a ton of fun. Like I like things Ninja Turtle associated. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. Have you seen the newest one, the Mutant Mayhem? No, not yet. I want to. I'm trying to get my kids to watch it, but they're going, nah, come on. Oh, they'll like it. It's a ton of fun. It's funny. It's a different take on the Turtles, but it works. Like it's just it's good. It's good fun. Yeah, give it. Yeah, I'd love to see your take on it. But Last Ronin, that'll be my number 5. Excellent choice, man. Had a couple of. What else do you have? Alternates. There was Clear by Scott Snyder and Francis Manapul from Image Comics that just looks like a ton of fun. And I'm a Manapul fan. Is it not Dark Horse? Maybe it is. You're right. It is Dark Horse. No, it's Dark Horse. That must have been delayed. I think that was due out last month or 2 months ago. But yeah, I think it's been delayed. And one that I really wanted to mention,
but I was going to just leave one Superman pick on the list, was Superman Volume 1 from Josh Williamson and Jamal Campbell, strictly because I'm cheering on Jamal. And he was recently on the show talking about it, and he was mentioning that it was a throwback to the Superman animated series feel of Superman, which I'm like all in on. I would love that. So
yeah,
I'm excited to get a chance to read that.
Dawn of DC is getting some really good hype around it, and Dawn of DC's Superman in particular. So that's one I want to try out. I'm not the biggest Joshua Williamson fan, but I want to read this book, man.
Yeah, me too. It seems like, for the most part, Superman and the Superman family are in a good place right now, which is nice to hear.
Yeah.
I haven't read it to be able to say, but just from what I hear, I'd like to give it a shot. Yay for Superman in November. How about you? Any other alternatives for you? I know you probably got a ton.
I'm going to go through the list as real quick, but I mean, it's not massive, but it does seem there's a lot of Omnis out at the moment from Marvel and DC, but some of them are really interesting, or deluxe editions, but I'll run through real fast. So Dark Horse are also releasing Madman Library Edition Volume 5, so if you've been picking up that series, I think it's going to go to a 6, and that should complete all the Madman stuff from Mike Allred, and then I'm going to read all of it in one go, because I want to do a reading on it. So I love Allred.
I like Mike Allred.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
DC-wise, we've got Absolute Preacher Volume 2. The Absolute editions of Preacher are, oh my God, they're so good. They look like Bibles. They're in slipcases. We showed them previously. It's as offensive on the outside as it is on the inside. Batman the Hush Saga Omnibus is Hush and a lot of the stuff that follows on from Hush, I think with a little bit of pre-Hush stories, but I basically sold off my Absolute in favour of this because it's more complete. I think it also includes a Wizard promo of Hush that leads into the story that wasn't in the Absolute edition. So this is probably the most complete version of Hush and the whole saga of that. I don't want to say too much in case it gives anything away if you've never read it, but it's a fine looking omnibus. DC The New Frontier Deluxe Edition is coming out again. It's probably been out a number of times, but it's Darwin Cook. If you've never picked this up, please treat yourself to this book. The paper quality as well that they print it on is right. It feels old school. It feels kind of 50s. It probably isn't, but it just feels like it is. Like the way that Darwin Cook's art feels 50s, but it kind of isn't because the layouts are current and the pace
recently.
Is current.
Yeah, you were talking about him. I think our last incoming for the Parker series.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were just talking. I'm so happy that this is being reprinted because, we could go on and on about how beautiful his style is. Yeah, good pick.
Cool.
Man, I don't know how I missed that. I would have listed that.
It's lovely. I should have listed it, but where it's been out, it's been released twice before, I thought, it's fine. But it's worth a mention. Seven Soldiers of Victory Omnibus by Grant Morrison is also coming. So that's, I think it's a series of 7 miniseries, if I remember rightly, with a kind of bookend 1 and 2 either side, one-shots either side. It's a big experimental epic. It's Grant Morrison, of course. It's a big experimental epic. It's highly praised. People love it. Very different, lower tier DC characters. Probably the most well-known character in the whole run is Zatanna. I love Zatanna. So, I've got the previous version. Pick it up. It's weird, but not too weird. It's still that kind of. It's still clear storytelling and superheroics without that kind of what the hell, Grant? What you smoking this week? So worth a pickup. IDW have got a couple of Dungeons and Dragons books I wanted to shout out, which are the Library Collection Volume 1, which I think is a smaller edition, but they're going back and rerunning that stuff that's quite hard to find. Some of it's very, very entertaining and very funny. They're also running Dungeons and Dragons Saturday Morning Adventures, which I think is a one-off book. I don't know if it's going to be a series. It may be if it's popular, but it harks back to the 1980s cartoon series with Venger and the kids that go through the ride and end up in the kind of Dungeons and Dragons world. I was a big fan of that cartoon as a kid, so I'm going to be picking that up. Image have got Ice Cream Man Sunday Edition, the hardcover, Deluxe Volume 2, and Kaya Volume 2. Both excellent books if you haven't read them. Seriously, there's so much good stuff out there, man. And I know it's like it racks up price-wise, but those 2 books are really strong from Image at the moment. Marvel are releasing their very first cross-gen omnibus, which is Sigil. I know nothing about Sigil. I did pre-order it. Since that, there's just too much other stuff, so I've had to cancel it. But there was a Jim Chung cross-gen series that I'm hoping they collect, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Scion. I want that. A lot of people love cross-gen books. This is hope. There is hope there for those of you that want those books collected. If you buy this book, there may be some more. So, we'll see. Thunderbolts Dark Reign is a paperback version of just the Dark Reign era of Thunderbolts, as it says, which is the Black Ops team. Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 3, so that's edging towards its completeness. X-Men Grand Design Trilogy trade paperback by Ed Piskor. I'm Ed Piskor. Is also due out. I think that is it.
Nice. We did it. Woo! Another one bites the dust.
I was going to do the beats.
Thank you, everybody, for for hanging out with us, giving us some of the things you're looking forward to, and chiming in on the chats. Everybody that's tuning in on the YouTubes, thank you. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We love hanging out with everybody and talking about things that we like and things to look forward to. Dave, talk to me.
Also, don't forget, like Eric's probably going to say this, I just wanted to make sure we did cover it. If you like what we do, whether it's in the videos, the reading orders, and don't forget, reading order wise, you're not just getting a list, you're getting a history. Jump on that stuff, have a look. If you like it, support us. If you support the Omniverse Comics Guide, you will get extra stuff every month that no one else will get to see. So there are bonuses involved.
Omniversecomics.guide. Everything is there. We love you guys. Dave, missed you, buddy. Next week, let's do it again.
Let's do it again.